What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Tim Talks, the real estate show where we talk about real estate, life, and a little bit of everything else. Ethan, from your throne in the corner, please roll the intro music. Well, it is a special episode of Tim Talks today for a few different reasons. Number one, it's Snowpocalypse 2023.
Yep. I hope you all seen the TikToks that are flying around of Portland because it seems like a disaster.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. Every year we have one of these snow crises, but this year was the biggest snowstorm since 1943.
Yep. Like we had 10 inches.
Yeah.
11 inches.
It was crazy. One of our managing brokers here, Jason Ludley, was driving up from Eugene, and he said it took him 6 hours to get from Eugene to Vancouver, and he was like, there was just carnage all over the place. He's like, cars just sideswiped each other, and there's, just these huge trucks just like kind of not on their sides, but like in the wrong direction, like not parallel with the road. They were
Some issues.
Perpendicular with the road, which is never a good thing if you're in a vehicle.
Yeah, we went to the coast, and the coast had snow. Thankfully, the company car had stud tires, so me and Sean just mobbed up. I think I scared him a few times because we hit some icy patches a little quick, and he was like...
Sean can be a timid fellow, I know he's not going to listen to this, but he can be a timid fellow every now and then.
He'd be like mid-conversation, we hit some ice, be like, yeah, and also it was pretty great.
The pause in conversation, that's awesome. Well, everyone that I know is alive and well.
Same.
Not without, I was driving down the highway and, my brakes just didn't work, and I thought I was going to, rear end somebody, but other than that, I'm all right. I'm alive. So today we're going to talk about something interesting that is very fitting for today, and it's what do we do, and what should we do when things do not go the way we planned them to. Things do not go the way we intended them to. When, life kind of throws something at us that we were not expecting. Because as a realtor, or really life in general, but especially when you're running your own business, things go wrong. What will go wrong will go wrong. Mm-hmm. Or it can go wrong will go wrong. And so you just have to be ready for and be prepared to react accordingly when things do not go to plan. Today's plan was to have a special guest from Seattle, Washington come onto the show. That was the plan. Like, he was supposed to be here at 9 a.m. We were supposed to get this thing rocking and rolling. Well, he's obviously not here today.
Snowpocalypse.
Snowpocalypse has kind of ruined our chances at that. So how do you think that people usually react? What is your perception of how people usually react when things go
terribly wrong?
Yeah, terribly wrong.
I think it depends on the person, obviously, but then I feel like in today's world we have a sense of we're always waiting for like disaster to happen currently, because we get a lot of like the world is terrible, we're having all these issues. Well, we are having a lot of issues, but when slight inconveniences pop up, we feel like our Karen needs to come out, and we need to everything needs to be fixed, everything needs to be the way that I wanted it, or it's just a complete disaster. And I think we have a current issue in the world of us being able to kind of step back and think that's a major inconvenience to my life. Like, I had to just buy a car this week that I didn't want to buy because our car broke down.
Speaking of when things do not go the way you had planned.
Which sucks, but that's just like life happens that way, and that's just how you have to just think that's just how it goes. That I got to figure out where to go from here, and just keep moving forward with my life, because that's all you can really do. Obviously you can go through some hard times and feel bad for yourself, but you have to get over that. Otherwise you'll just be in despair for the rest of your life and not ever be happy. So I will say minor breakdowns, but it's okay.
Yeah. I think one thing that is really important about planning for when things go wrong, I think what's really important about reacting to when things go wrong is getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
I think so often we get into these positions that we had not planned, positions that we are not happy to be in, and we realize it's uncomfortable, right? You had to drop $18,000 on a car,
Yeah.
right? That is an uncomfortable situation to
fun.
be in, right? I'm
Right.
not just talking physically. I'm talking, mentally as well. Being put in uncomfortable situations. And so often our reaction is to try to get back to that comfortable position we were in previously. But we have to kind of reframe our minds to become comfortable in those uncomfortable situations.
Right.
Because that's only where we can actually deal with the situation that's going. Because if we try to fight that discomfort, then we're just running from pain. We're just running from the unfortunate situation.
Right.
But I think when we get comfortable being uncomfortable, saying, we're going to have to squeeze things a little tighter this month. We're going to have to, put together a quick episode instead of having this other guy that we had planned come on the show. That is where you actually can find solutions and you can actually make things better. So,
Right. It's a big mental game. I always think when I was in my younger years in high school, we talked about this earlier with the whole cop stuff, but
yeah.
went through this like leadership academy for a week long, and you get your like head shaved, you get like woken up by pots and pans in the middle of the night, like you get pepper sprayed and all this stuff. And the thing you have to think about when you're going through really hard times, either physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever, is to just kind of like try to block out everything that's coming at you, all the attacks that are like currently happening, and just think like, I'm okay. Like I might be in pain, I might be doing whatever, but like I'm mentally just like think to yourself, I'm here, I'm okay. This is going to end at some point. Like at some point this will end. And that's what I'm just holding on for, is the end of this current bad time. And I know it's going to get better, and just like learning to calm yourself down and get through the bad stuff and look forward to the good stuff. So it's a tough mental muscle that you have to gain by going through hard stuff.
I love that. That's what a way to compartmentalize pain, right?
Right.
Because you're essentially saying like you're basically disassociating your pain from who you are, right? Because so many people get overwhelmed and it's just like, like we're all over the place, like I'm uncomfortable. But to be able to say, no, I'm experiencing something, but that is not who I am, and that is going to, like you said, it's going to end. I am okay. Like, I'm alive. I am breathing. I am here. Everything is going to be all right, and eventually this will end.
Right.
I think that's a really cool way of kind of compartmentalizing the uncomfortable situation that you're in. That's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy thing. And I think if you like runners, especially, because I'm currently running sucks. Like you're just like, it's like you go through so many different pains and mental strife when you're running. You have to learn to be like, okay, I'm checking out mentally and I'm just focusing on just like going. Like it's just so weird. So do something hard, do running, and you'll be a stronger person.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we've talked about running on this show before. It's just a great metaphor for a lot of things in life.
Is so good.
It just really is. And, I during my time, because I ran for 9 years, 4 in high school and 5 in college, and I ran, anywhere from 10,000 meters to 800 meters, even 400 actually at one point, which did not go well. But I did not have that kind of muscle fiber, sadly. 800 was kind of where I capped off, but each race, there's different kinds of pain that you go through and different kinds of discomfort.
Right.
And likewise in life, there's not one specific discomfort that you're going to experience every time. It's going to be a different kind of pain point that you're hitting. Sometimes it'll be an emotional pain, like an emotional, my girlfriend left me or something, right? Not that it's my girlfriend left me. Ow, I'm uncomfortable in this situation. Or like a financial pain, like, I had to drop a lot of money on this car, right? Different kinds of pain. And there's different kinds of, just like if you're in the gym or just like if you're running a different race, different kinds of muscle groups that you use to fight the pain, right? Or different kinds of mentalities that you have to use to fight the discomfort that you're in. I think that's really cool because it's, again, the metaphor for running just basically covers all of life. So,
and I think there's a fine line between like getting so mentally callous that you're like the pain doesn't like affect you as much and you can get through it faster, and then being so callous that you just don't have any emotional input into your life anymore too, because you still want to like feeling the feelings is good. Like, you don't want to not feel feelings. You still want to have different emotions. Just being able to rein it in so that they're manageable, but not be so hard that you're just like a rock and no one likes you.
Yes. Well, I think that kind of segues straight into what other thing I was wanting to talk about today, which was I mentioned kind of a work-life balance that I want to talk to you about. I think when people think of work-life balance, they always think of spending time at work versus spending time at home with loved ones. Right. It goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because there's work-life balance, but then there's work-life balance that happens in your head. Mm-hmm. And if doesn't matter if you're spending 5 hours every night with your family, if 4.5 of those hours you are still trying to be mentally tough about your work up in your head, right, you will become so calloused that you kind of lose touch with people. Mm-hmm. It's really dangerous. I actually, just to be vulnerable with the 30 listeners, take that part out, to be vulnerable a little bit, that was something that was definitely happening with me in the last, 6 months or so. So I was getting into this mindset where I was like, I'm a stone cold killer. Mm-hmm. I don't care what it takes. I'm going out and I'm getting shit done. And I am not going to stop and eventually I started to become kind of a robot that was doing this work. And my relationships were kind of starting to suffer a little bit from it because I was always thinking of work. I was always a little stressed from work. Like I was taking that home, even when I wasn't working, even when I wasn't even focusing on work, it was like a subconscious stress that I had because I calloused myself so much to just be, you are somebody who works. You do not enjoy it. In your time, the time for enjoyment will come later when you have made it and you're successful and you drive a Mercedes G-Wagon.
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of mentality. And you're absolutely right. Like you said, you become a rock that no one wants to be around.
Right.
And I really realized that over the last few weeks was like, we had talked about this. Ben talked about this a little bit. And he even caught me doing it on the show. Mm-hmm. But it's that idea that, work is not everything. And if you're putting in your hours and you're putting in your time, and you're consistent with things, you'll still be super successful. I still have that. I have this mentality, like I call it the Kobe mentality, because it is a very Kobe Bryant mentality. Like you'll do everything it takes to win.
Right.
But what did Kobe also do? Kobe was also a huge father figure to his children. Kobe took the time to be there for the people that he needed to be there for. Mm-hmm. His wife, his kids. He took that time. So yeah, when he was at the gym, putting in his thousands of shots that he would get up every day. Mm-hmm. And when he was working out when everyone else had gone home, yeah, he still was a killer. He still had that mentality. He still was calloused. But he also made space to take care of his people, which I think was something that I was really missing because, not to compare myself to Kobe Bryant. I'm not Kobe. I want to be the real estate Kobe. But I was kind of looking up to him and kind of idolizing him and saying, that's who I need to be. But I was totally missing that kind of second piece of it where it's like, oh yeah, the reason he's doing all this work is to be a huge winner out there, but also to be a huge winner to his family as well.
Right.
And I think that's something that is just kind of glossed over because you just see this guy that, put in just endless hours at the gym.
Yeah, it's tough. Because I do this and then have my own side business, there's a lot of work that gets done after hours and at home. Yes. And that's probably one of the more brutal things that you have to come to terms with and figure out how you're going to handle, especially if you have a family or just loved ones and friends in general, is figuring out how that time is going to be spent well. I have almost the opposite of your issue where I have a hard time getting myself to work when I know that I could just be hanging out with friends and family. And so I struggle with just sitting down and being I just have to get this done and then I can do this. And different. I was on the flip side of that right out of high school when I was like, I'm going to be the best videographer, cinematographer this world has ever seen. I hit the ground really, really hard and got humbled very, very fast.
Yeah.
And was like, this is like, I need to reshape how I view this whole, because you can go to LA, you can work the 24-hour shifts, be a AC, work on shoots, and then hopefully someone sees you somewhere and hires you to be like a assistant for this random guy, and then you get into these bigger shoots and stuff. But you have to put in so much time and so much effort, and a lot of the people I knew who are currently down there just struggle with always having to work all the time, never having like serious relationships or like just friends in general, and that's not what I wanted for my personal life. And so I was like, I need to reshape how I'm going about the whole video work-life balance thing. So especially in video, it's tough because it's a very big, hours heavy type of work. And so figuring out how you're going to put relationships first is hard. Art in general, because people don't usually pay what art is. You don't pay for the hours you put into artwork.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Tell me a little bit more about that world, because it is... you said 24-hour days, right? I want to hear like a little bit. Can you give us like a little snippet of like what exactly does that look like because you were in LA, you were down there for film school, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for a first semester before COVID hit.
Yeah, so you kind of experienced a little bit of like what it looks like. But I want to hear a little bit about that experience, because in my head, and I know I do the same thing here with real estate. I had a little epiphany where I'm like, why work that much? Right. Why? Because why would just go do something that makes you money but doesn't kill you? Because why are you working to make money then?
Right.
Do you love film that much that you would spend 24 hours a day on it and you love it that much? Or are you trying to make money out of it? Because if you're trying to make money out of it, then what's the point of that? Because you're never going to have people to spend it on.
Right, exactly.
And you're never going to have time to spend it either.
Right.
So what's that world like?
First thing you get told, what you should be told the first thing when you go into any kind of art or especially film school is, if you don't love it, like, leave now. If you're not in it for the lot, if you're not gonna suffer through it, lose friends, like, if you're not going to love this, don't even get started in it, because you're gonna put in way more hours than you'll ever be paid. You're gonna that's the big one. You're gonna put in so many hours to this, so much blood, sweat, and tears usually into this craft, that no one's going to pay you what you're worth until you get to like the top 1%, which is going to take you a lot of time and a lot of connections and hard work. Some people just break through right away and make it. YouTube has made that a lot easier, thankfully, for the film industry. But especially in LA, there's still this old school mindset where you have to have 6 internships, unpaid 6 internships, until you can get into this one paid internship, which leads to this, which hopefully you meet someone through that, and then you can actually break through. So there's a lot of you have to pay your dues, and paying your dues costs you 6 years of your life of just struggling and trying to make it through. So that's the hard part of being down there, is it's a grind for sure. And you have to just know the right people. You have to play the game. It's just a huge game that you have to play, which is fun and super exciting. LA is full of crazy opportunities. So you kind of have to pick, and I'm not saying it's not impossible for people, but you kind of have to pick, do you want the suburban white picket fence family lifestyle, or do you want the I live with 7 other guys in this 2-bedroom little apartment that we pay a ton of money for, that I'm just living in the city, grinding all night and all day to try to make this thing work. So
I mean, I think people probably romanticize the second option.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Totally romanticize it, but put them in there for a week and see how much they love that.
When I was working in LA, I was came to the realization that LA is just like any other place. It's just there's this huge mindset of, I'm in LA, all the stars live here. This is where movies are made, and it's just this cloud that you have in your head, this is the place to be, this is amazing. But the more you live there, this is just any other big city. Crazy stuff happens. But it is a weird trance that LA puts on you.
It is so interesting. I went to LA in the first week of January for 4 or 5 days, visiting friends down there, because one guy's going to school down there, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not for work, but for school. And I was like, I love this place. It's awesome,
Right.
but I would never want to live here.
Yeah, it's brutal.
It was super cool. We walked down these like super famous streets and
Mm-hmm.
went and ate at, David Dobrik's pizza place. And Dre tagged David Dobrik in or his Dobrik's, the pizza place, and they actually reposted her story.
That's pretty cool.
This is awesome. Let's go. Yeah. And yeah, there's like, it's LA, like the land of opportunity. I am gonna go there, it's the reason it has that is because that has happened for people.
Right.
I mean, David Dobrik, right?
Yep.
The guy was doing well with his, what was it? What was that thing? Vine. Yeah, Vine.
Yeah, he's a Viner.
He was doing well with Vine, in Chicago. Moves to LA, said, F it, I'm going to LA. I'm going to go make myself. And, I mean, that's exactly what he did.
Yep.
So people see that and I think it's like a trance, like you said, that everyone has put on them when they get there. But that's because like, if you, like you said, if you do it right, you could actually.
You can. I mean, you definitely can. You have to give it like your 100%. You can't stop. You have to like believe that you're going to get there and play the game right and do it. But it is you. I'm sure David Dobrik would tell you he sacrificed a lot to get to where he is today. But the payoff is you're David Dobrik.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's wild. It's just a different world, man. It's
It is
a different world. I mean, even just like being in LA, we weren't even doing anything. We're just driving through the city, and you just get this like feeling like I'm in LA.
Yeah, I'm in LA. I'm walking on these stars. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
there's the Hollywood sign.
Yeah, it's a different feeling. And I mean, I guess you can't help that when like we drove past the building and like literally the night before they had the Grammys there or like the Emmys or something.
It's pretty cool.
It's like, well, yeah, I mean like 100 A-list celebrities were just in that
right
building
here.
right there last night. It's like in Little Newburgh, Oregon, they're not having the same.
Not gonna happen.
You're not having the same experience.
Like I was just like getting an elevator and Emma Chamberlain walked in like a YouTube star.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And
in
I
LA?
was like, and I was like,
no way.
this is pretty crazy. Like this is just a common occurrence.
Did you like say hi to her? Or, like,
Yeah, I talked to her a little bit.
Okay.
I had my roommate in there with me at the time. We were talking about Pop-Tarts for some reason, and so I included her in on the conversation.
No way. Yeah. Did she know that you knew that she was famous?
I don't know. I think maybe, but I wasn't like Emma Chamberlain. I was just
You're like Emma Chamberlain. What do you think about? What do you think about Pop-Tarts?
Yeah. What's your view on Pop-Tarts? Yeah.
Well, that's funny because I know that a lot of celebrities, they actually really like having those like normal conversations and not being like, oh my god, what do you think?
Can I take your picture? Like, man, they're probably so tired of pictures.
Oh my gosh, yeah, they're sick of it. So that is kind of cool. It's interesting, but and I think like, I mean, even like we're saying Newburgh, but like Portland, you go to Portland, you're not going to get that in Portland.
Yep.
You go to Dallas, Texas, you're not going to get that in Dallas. It's only in like New York City and LA. Like those are those two kind of places.
But it's just A-list, they're just walking around, living their life.
But yeah, anyway, kind of got sidetracked there, but it's really interesting to kind of look at that mindset, the different mindsets of like of work-life balance and people that have just hardened themselves to the point where they're working a 24-hour shift. And in a way, I think you can look at those people and they are really successful and they do drive the super nice cars. But I think one thing that I noticed for myself is burying myself in work like that and intentionally, because it's intentional, intentionally not allowing myself a chance to breathe.
Right. Oh yeah, it's intentional.
I was losing more of myself than I was actually gaining anything. And it's just, no work is worth losing yourself over. It really is not. So yeah, I'm still going to grind. I'm still going to put in my 10-hour day. I'm still going to just, beat the metal until it, finally becomes a sword, Right. But when I go home, like, I'm just going to I'm going to force myself to let that stress go. I'm going to force myself to let the workday go because I'm home and I need to focus on the people there,
Right. I think the knowledge of just knowing that, like, realizing to yourself that I have the ability to work more. Like I could bury myself in work, but just knowing like I need to dial it back a little bit and spend time with the people I love is half the battle.
Oh, absolutely.
It's tough because you want to perform for your clients. You want to like be successful and know that you did the best you could yourself. Like I gave my 100% into this project. I'm working as hard as I possibly can. This is how I'm going to be successful. And then it's hard to be like, no, I gotta have some home life. I'll push this back a little bit. It's tough. It's not easy.
No, I think that's one of the strongest things you could do is to look at a project and say, I could destroy you right now, right. But I'll only like mostly destroy you, and I'll leave a little bit to like
I'll come back
to you. Well, it's like and that actually I think really fights burnout. I think that fights burnout a ton. I was telling Garrett's one of my best friends. I was telling my friend Garrett when we went to the gym. I always leave the gym having left one exercise that I really wanted to do and not doing it, because I know that the next day I will get up and really want to go to the gym and do that exercise. Right. And I think it's the same exact thing with work. If you get everything that you need done, like everything that you use is crucial, get it done, right? Mm-hmm. But leave a little something for yourself. Leave a little something that's undone, a stone that is unturned, because you'll keep coming back for it every single time.
There's some payoff, some personal payoff for you. Because you don't want to work so hard that you start to hate something. Exactly. And then you're like, it's just not fun to hate what you're doing every day.
Then you won't succeed anymore because you're going to hate it. And when you hate it, people can tell, and they don't want to work with somebody who hates what they're doing.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, I think that just about does it for us today. Word of the day.
Philanthropist.
Philanthropist. Wow. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
It was just in your head?
Just in my head. I was like, PH word, philanthropist.
Philanthropist. I was going to go with snow.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was trying to think of something snow. Yeah. And precipitation came in.
Precipitation. That's a good one. The first word, because you're supposed to just do the first word that comes to your head, so it just like snow. It just popped in my head. I wanted it to be something a lot better, but it was just crazy. It was just snow.
I think I skipped over a few words before.
That's okay. Because really, it's what's the first word that sticks in your brain.
There we go.
Yeah. You can. I skimmed over a few words myself, but it's like the first word that boom sticks in your brain. Yeah.
Philanthropist.
Philanthropist. That's good. All right, guys. Well, thank you again so much for joining us this week for an episode of Tim Talks. I really hope that this was meaningful to you guys. I think that these are things like we're truly speaking from the heart when we talk about these things. And that's our goal, is just to be as genuine as we possibly can be. And if you want to join in on this conversation, please leave us a comment or send us a message or something. We want to hear from you guys and what you think about the things that we're saying, because we're just two dudes in a room. And we don't we don't hold the entire experience of the world in our hands.
I'm only 24.
Yeah. So you're only 24?
Yeah.
Dang, man.
I'll be 25 in March.
The beard makes you look like you're 30.
Dude, so Heidi, my wife's a school teacher, and I walk in, they're like, "Oh, you're dating an old man." The problem is, if I did shave, it's terrible.
Oh my gosh.
So bad.
I really want to.
One day, maybe.
One day. All right. Well, thank you again so much for joining us. Make sure to follow us and like us and comment us and do all that good stuff for us. And we will see you in the future, possibly next week, maybe the week after. We're trying to get our guy down here to do an episode with us, and we will be back. But Ethan, again, from your throne there, please roll our outro music. See you next week.